What's happening, people? So, first thing you're going to ask, what's all this about? I'm going to explain. So, first off, obviously, I didn't record for about close to about a week. Yeah, I was just busy with stuff and end of the semester, so just a whole lot of that. But anyway, the reason this happened was because I was going over back to the fundamentals. So, obviously, I was kind of rushing a little bit and kind of trying to get ahead of myself. So I was like, okay, bet we're gonna take a step back. This is probably the day after I shot that video. So a lot of what happened was at first I was worrying about like basic shapes. Cylinders were kind of throwing me off at first because I was thinking like, why does it look like this, right? Why is the end kind of poking out a little bit? In a three-dimensional space. Of course, like obviously you wouldn't see this when you're straight off looking at a cylinder, but one thing I don't know, kind of had a light bulb moment, kind of stupid, but obviously a cylinder is a rectangle pretty much, more circular, like a round cylinder, but when it's flat, you don't really see the top or bottom. So kind of like a cube, right? Like a flat thing of a cube would just be a square. But anyway, yeah, I was kind of doing that. And then ignore the random face. I did that out of nowhere. But I was doing that and I wasn't really happy with the lines I was producing at that time. So they're coming out a little bit crazy. So I kind of went everywhere, started drawing. This is a little bit more recent. I want to say actually I probably did this today. But the rest of this is like last week or so, or like over the weekend. So just a lot of lines, drawing them straight, drawing them down. I had a lot of problems with like eclipses, so I started working on that a little bit. Cause like with cylinders, and they're still not the best, obviously. Like I still need a ton of work with them, but they're getting a little bit better. So yeah, I was working on that, trying to get shapes down, that sort of stuff. But also shout out to Zach Mercury's again for the comments on the last video. Funny enough, I was already kind of on a path redirect with trying to like a redirection on trying to get myself back on the right foot. So anyway, ignore the face. Sometimes I just like drawing random faces. I'm not really doing anatomy as much right now. I'm still trying to focus on the basics, but every once in a while I just draw whatever I feel like drawing. So anyway, I was like, okay, I was trying to draw like random shapes on top of each other. Kind of switching up the perspective a little bit, not as much obviously, but I don't know, for some reason it just wasn't really doing it for me. So instead I was like, okay, I'm gonna just take these random objects. So for example, this is a oil container, and I was like, bet, well I'll try to draw that. So obviously this is a cylinder, and then another thing I did, this could possibly be wrong, but pretty much I drew like another cylinder that connected with this, and I kind of drew a little slant that was connecting with it just to give it that, a little lump, three-dimensional look to it. But pretty much I drew like a smaller cylinder on top because that's kind of like how I thought about it. And then, obviously the cap. So there's another a more flat cylindrical figure there. And then the top, I don't even know, I just kind of drew it. Then I was like, okay, let me look at my car key. So I was like, okay, well, it looks like a box. Kind of did that. And then obviously I was like, okay, well, let me get down more to the details about it. So not like full details, but more like the basic shapes of it. So started to do that. And then I don't know, for some reason I just draw a lot of circles because I feel like they kind of suck a little bit. I still feel like circles are the hardest thing to draw for some reason, in my opinion. So I was doing that right here, basically trying to put like, copy this, but put it in like a cube to kind of focus a little bit on perspective, which I'm still kind of iffy on. So I'll most definitely do a video on that, most likely Wednesday, I want to say, because I think I'm gonna try to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. So I think Wednesday might work on perspective, obviously with basic shapes and trying to get that figured out. But yeah, kind of try to draw this and it wasn't coming out right. Actually, I think it was like a different container I was looking at, and I was just like, it wasn't coming out right. I didn't like how And another thing like I'm kind of struggling with is like, for example, you'll see later on, but let's say I draw, and obviously my line work is not the best right now. I'm just kind of doing this off the whim. But let's say something like this. For some reason, I really struggle with drawing circles on this plane for some reason. I don't know why, but I just do. So trying to figure that out a little bit. I think it's just I don't know, the angle of the circle maybe. Who knows? Trying to figure that out a little bit. But anyway, yeah, like eclipses and circles are kind of like my kryptonite right now. Like cubes and cylinders aren't really as bad, even though cylinders have eclipses. And I'm still kind of struggling like a little bit. Like I was looking at this and this before, you know, kind of clicked on with me like how you're supposed to draw them. This is also like a random pipe I just kind of drew off the random. And I don't know how I made this, but I kind of liked how it looked, and I was like, bet. So yeah, just drawing a whole bunch of random containers. Started drawing like cubes, and I was like, okay, bet. Let me try to draw like the 3D space of it. So, and the funny part about it, I don't know if this is just me. Hold on, I probably gotta zoom it up a little bit just for you guys to see. But for some reason, for me, it was kind of throwing me off at first. So I kind of had to do like a little, not shading, but just like something to kind of be like, okay, these are the surfaces that I'm looking at, and then the dot lines are the background. Because beforehand, I don't know, maybe it's how I drew it or so, but for the cube, I can see like both ways. So either it's like you would say this is like a top-down view, or I don't know, top-down, down-top view. I don't know how you say it, but pretty much I'm looking up at the cube. And then the other way how I see it is I can see these lines coming out first. So then you're looking at the cube from the top and you're looking down at it. So it was kind of throwing me off at first because I was like, okay, what? So I kind of shaded that in to fix it. And then I was like, okay, let me try to draw some random, like a cylindrical figure with this. And I looked at it, I was like, damn, it looks like Milner. So I just kind of drew that. I don't know, kind of funny stuff. Then afterward, hold on, fix this up a little bit. Ignore this, hold on, spoiler for the rest of the video. All this stuff, the paper, all that. Hold on. All right, bet. So anyway, this is definitely also over the weekend a little bit. Actually, I was doing a little bit more practice today, but I don't know, I didn't bring the notebook with me. But anyway, yeah, I was focusing on more on lines, trying to get them more on the dot, pretty much. So, and watch me on Fraud Watch. Oh, not wow. Okay, bet. No, I'll take it. Hold on. No, yeah, Fraud Watch. I promise y'all I can draw lines. I could draw lines, I promise y'all. But anyway, yeah, I was kind of drawing a little bit more, so I was doing more lines. But this time, because usually I try to, like, I always end up overshooting it, so I wanted to see how long I can get the lines. But honestly, I think it's easier, at least for me. So I know usually I do like chicken scratch, and you know I'm eventually gonna try to stop. But I think for like the basic figures, it's always easier for me to draw. And of course I messed it up because right now I swear I'm like camera shy or something. This is Fraud Watch Part 2 or something. But anyway, for me it's always easier to draw the lines once I have like an outline to look at, and then afterward I can just kind of like go with it and just do that. I don't know, that's just me. Maybe it's not the right way to do it or so, but I don't know, it's just easy for me. And then of course ignore the smudge marks. I don't know, my hand wants to touch everything, so pause on that. But anyway, was trying to switch up a little bit like how I was drawing cubes, because I figured, you know, it's a little bit too, you'll even see on this next page, I kind of draw them, hold on, my fault. I kind of draw them in a similar manner. So it's always like from like a top down view or so. So I was like, okay, let me try to switch it up a little bit. Draw the, you know, looking up at it. It's honestly not that hard either. I would say like trying to turn it around either, like just doing everything. It's not that bad. So ignore the body. I was just doing that for fun. And then I was doing this, and the reason why I'll explain at the end afterwards. I bought a book, the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Marvel, please don't sue me. I'm just showing this. I'm not showing the inside of the book. But anyway, I got that because I figured not just to skip ahead as usual, but I figured it would be good for practice because I know it goes over perspective, like basic perspective with like shapes and all that, which I needed. Gestures and poses. So I was like, okay, bet. And for shortening. So I was like, oh, okay, bet. I'll look at it and check it out. And honestly, I would say that was honestly the thing that probably helped me a little bit draw stuff because I realized like everything it really is just a rectangle, a circle, or a cylinder. Funny enough, and then of course like triangular prisms and that sort of stuff. But most shapes could be dumbed down to those three. But anyway, yeah, was doing a little bit of practice, lines, circles. This is where I was talking about earlier when I was struggling with ellipses. I'm still gonna work on that some, and of course down here, you guys can see down here I kind of struggled a little bit with the behind part of it. So yeah, just little stuff here and there. So circles are my weaknesses per usual. Anyway, I was just drawing some randomness here. Like this is a box, and who knows, flowers and a vase. So cool stuff. Trying to be a little bit more confident in my lines, so I'm not trying to use as many. Now, for some reason, also when I darken it, it's a lot. It's worse. It's actually kind of hard. But when I'm like gently, kind of just going with the flow, it's a lot easier for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, was doing that. More cylinders. This was one of the covers for the Dragon Ball mangas I'm reading currently. I made it all the way to Cell Saga, so that's pretty fun. It was always my favorite, but I enjoyed a lot more in the manga now. Well, there's some moments I like in the anime a little bit more, but it's just extra scenes that they added, boxes, that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And let me flip it. Actually, hold on a sec. I might have another page I liked. Previous backtracking. If I can find it. Nah, this is just whatever page. Yeah. So then, this was probably yesterday, I want to say. And ignore the arms. That was just kind of me having fun with it. And of course, trying to put like, you know, squares, rectangles, cones, cylinders, like that sort of stuff, and try to make something. And even ignore the post. I don't know. I still like doing with bodies, but I just, I'm not really focusing on that at the moment. So I was focused on like a 7-Up cup. Did that. That was pretty cool. Started drawing more circles. And then the bird was pretty much like the first thing I was drawing where I was like, okay, even instead this entire thing, this page was more focused on, and of course the other pages had this too, but this is more solely on not exactly line art, but focusing on getting basic shapes down, trying to draw objects. So like the soda case, of course, it was just a rectangle, even though it's a cylindrical figure. Just draw a regular rectangle, two trapezoids, and then of course you want to add your little curves there and there to give it to that circular form. This is like a random base I just kind of drew. It's not perfect, of course. And honestly, this is where the eclipses start to click a little bit. I know it is off. I'm not gonna lie about that. This is definitely gonna take time. So yeah, but anyway, I was doing that, drawing more circles because I have to struggle with it. But yeah, the bird, I was like, okay, bet I can break it off into 3 separate shapes. And I put it in a box too, just to keep it all. Trying to focus on proportions a little bit too. So obviously, it's that, and then like a triangle kind of, you would say. Then once you break it down, it's kind of, and then honestly, you could do the same thing for the legs too, right? That would just be a weird thing, right? Like this, but you could always just do something like that. Then there you have your bird. Oh, I missed the head. No. It's a deformed bird. But yeah. stuff like that. So kind of focusing on that, trying to fix that up. This was so some of it was what I was doing, and then some of it was just more like I don't care anymore. But anyway, I had 3 cases of like water on top of each other. For some reason, I only drew the one, and the reason I wanted to draw this was because I wanted to see how drawing 2 cubes or rectangular prisms in different angles would work. Obviously, that didn't come out right, as you can kind of see right here, but I was fine with it anyway. And then was I drew this off the random, just kind of this, and then I repeated it here, and I like this a lot more. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Start doing a little bit of triangular prisms. Ignore the hands, of course. I still like this though. I like this a lot. But yeah, more of these, and then drew a random vase. This one was actually me trying to see if I can give a different, I don't even know how to explain it, a different view. I guess you could say it's also different angles as well, but I just kind of wanted to test it, how it would look, depending on how flat down it is. And I guess you could also say it's a little bit of foreshortening, so I might just be cutting it a little bit forward. But I was kind of also going by my imagination a little bit with this, so that's also the reason it looks kind of off. No reference here, but yeah, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I might have been getting ahead of myself with this too. It is what it is. And then ignore the car. Well, not really ignore the car, but this is a little bit. This was today. This is probably like the one of the few I was making earlier. So was focusing more on like eclipse because I didn't like how that looked. And then this is what I need to work on today, especially. I mean, I'm still gonna work on shapes, but I want to also add some perspective in it too. So I was like, okay, let me draw like a pinball machine. This is pretty cool. I liked how I started adding the curve. My lines are coming out a lot more confident. I'm not using as many lines beforehand, which I'm also cool with. So that's a bonus. This is kind of random, just putting random shapes together. I was like, oh, that looks kind of like a foot. So just did that. A lot of like eclipses because I'm still working on those, obviously. This is like a car, so I just drew the box at first, drew the top of it, and then the wheels, of course, are off, and the perspective's a little bit funky too. So that's whatever. Then the headlights, and you can kind of see right here, I was kind of drawing the actual light itself. But yeah, just kind of doing every little stuff there and there. So I think right now I'm gonna focus more on perspective, and I'm definitely using this book here. It's I'm surprised how helpful it is. At first I wasn't gonna buy it, and then a whole lot of artists that I also watch on YouTube, some of them actually ended up on Proco for like, a video or two. So that was pretty cool. If you hear those noises, just ignore it. It's a garbage truck. But yeah, definitely looking at that. Gonna work on more shapes, more perspective. And then eventually I want to say I might move on to possibly just like figure gesture drawing. So stuff like, drawing the figure itself. Who knows? Who knows? Whatever. But man, garbage. Of course, the recycle trucks comes in now. But yeah, just kind of focusing on that, taking it one step at a time. Next video on Wednesday will most definitely probably be more perspective, of course, with basic shapes, and then just we'll keep moving on from there. Like this isn't perfect, of course, but I also really like how I'm starting to incorporate more, not really complex, but just different shapes. So of course, like I started off like these were both rectangles, and I just add the curves in. So I really like that. So there's little stuff there and there I kind of like. Obviously I can see where I can improve on. So pretty cool stuff. And then eventually I'll move on to gesture figures, which will either be Friday or maybe I'll do it next Monday. And yeah, eventually, hopefully, we can get down to this entire book. I think I'm gonna skip a couple things, like obviously proportions. I just kind of want to focus on gestures a little bit, and then of course we'll focus on proportions a little bit more too. So just doing that there and there. But yeah, that's why I haven't been posting for like a week. So yeah, apologies for that. Trying to be a little bit more consistent. I got all the parts for my PC, so I start building it now. And then finding a drawing tablet, because most likely I'll start recording that way, which will also be another heart or headache because I don't know what it is, but a digital artist got it, man. It's hard drawing lines and like it's just so much easier doing this, but you know, it is what it is. So anyway, that is the video for today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all Wednesday. Peace.